Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is NBA trainer Anthony Bathalon. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Nice to meet you.
And I'll have you introduce your folks here.
Well, these are some of the kids that I've trained, when I just started training them. These are two of them. This is Connor Lanou, and this is his older brother, Cody Lanou. And that's my manager for One Dream. His name's Destin Sandy.
Right. First of all, the Lanous, are you guys brothers?
Yeah.
I've got to say, I really envy your bangs. For the viewers, you can't tell, they kind of stick up on the end. And what can I do to make my bangs
Get
stick
more
up?
hair.
So Anthony, tell me a little bit about you and a little bit about what is this One Dream thing?
Well, basically, like you said, I'm an NBA skills coach. I've had the opportunity the last year pretty much to travel the country. I'm getting ready to travel different parts of the world as well, heading to Germany. I have a couple connections to head to the UK as well. So the biggest thing for me is I'm all about trying to develop athletes. Okay, so I'm not necessarily just focused on NBA athletes or just college athletes. As you see, Connor Lanou and Cody, they're both in junior high. Connor's actually a little younger, and so I've had the opportunity to be able to help many different ages, and so being able to travel the world is something that I extremely admire, and that's something that I want to do for the rest of my life. With these two, for instance, they work hard anytime we train. And so that gives me a fire inside that lets me know hey, I'm doing something good regardless of making money or regardless of being able to have this as a career. It just feels good to be able to give back to young athletes.
Now, I've watched some of your videos, and it seems to go far beyond just basketball or just sports. Isn't there a lot about just succeeding?
Absolutely. The biggest thing with me is at a young age, I had this game taken away from me. And so not only did it have a negative impact on me at first, but at the same time it gave me a sense of okay, now what am I going to do in my life? I feel like a lot of kids can succeed purely off from a sport alone simply because that's going to drive them to be successful doing their schoolwork, to be successful doing communicating with people, communicating with others. And so this game of basketball has really given me the ability to motivate people through it, to work with different people, different talents, to communicate with people in different fields, different careers, and to just be able to wake up every day knowing that, you know what, I've got a job to do. That's something that I really, really hold strongly to, and that's something that I have a huge passion for.
So did you play high school basketball?
Absolutely. I actually played high school basketball for 2.5 years. I went to Lake Region Union High School. The coach and I actually did not get along. One of the biggest things and one of the biggest reasons why we didn't get along is simply because I didn't really know how to separate my home life from my school life. And through that became a lot of confusion, and so I want to say halfway through my junior year I actually got kicked off the basketball team, and that sent me into a whirlwind of different feelings, emotions. I started acting up, and it just, after a while I realized if I want to be a part of this game for the rest of my life, that can't happen. You know what I mean? I can't be making mistakes that can easily be prevented if I make the right choices. And so I quickly decided, you know what, if I'm trying to do something with this game, I've got to do it differently. I've got to attack things differently. And so through my video perception, that's going to show people that, okay, he has went through a lot of things. He has went through situations where he's been told this or he's been told that, he's been told he's cocky, stuff like that, things that I've been told throughout my life. That's what the video perception is pretty much based around, just showing you real quick hey, just because you've been told this or you've been told that doesn't mean you are that. Right. And you can prove that through what you love. And so
now, do you want to show the video perception right now?
Absolutely, I'd love to.
All right.
Perception. What is your perception of me? Is it that he's cocky? Or is it that he's selfish? I've been told I lacked integrity. I've been told I'll fail. By the same people I've been told I won't make it. Or that I lack fire. When I was younger, people used to say I don't listen. That this person only cares about himself. Or that he can't see past himself. I learned to not listen to people that just have negative things to say about you, because at the end of the day, they're not going to go through the fire that you got to go through. They're not going to walk through the fire that you got to walk through. It's up to you to see the path for yourself. Of course, you're going to make mistakes on the way there. That's what goals are for. Goals are to make those mistakes. That way, success comes a lot easier. You put so much time into what you do, you got to sacrifice every single moment. I didn't become an NBA skills coach out of pure luck. I didn't start working with players from around the world with just pure luck. Everything that I've ever done with my life had to do with me sacrificing time, sacrificing days on end to get to where I want to go. And I'm going to continue to do that until the day that I die.
All right, so would you guys like to discuss that video a little bit?
Absolutely.
How about you?
Perception, we filmed that up in Johnson. It was basically a video of Anthony showing his skills, kind of talking about some things he's been put through in life and so on and so forth.
Are you used? How do you like? You're usually the cameraman, right?
Yeah.
How do you like life on this side?
It's a little different. It's definitely a little different. It's not bad though.
Like Dustin, for instance, like he's a guy that understands like the process, and like that's the biggest thing. The process of trying to create one dream and trying to develop this program to become like worldwide as opposed to just known in the Northeast Kingdom. Like that's the toughest thing people don't understand or realize. And like Dustin, like thankfully, like he is with me at all times. Like he travels to Boston with me. Like he pretty much drives everywhere. And so it's a situation where without him, like One Dream wouldn't be what it is right now. And so like to be known, like I realize like I have to have a good, strong supporting cast. And like Dustin's been there, and so like it's great to have him along the ride for sure.
And I even have a One Dream T-shirt now.
Absolutely.
And you said you have new ones coming out.
Absolutely. Yeah. This was like we had a One Dream Foundation basketball game in Linden, and like that pretty much supported like kids that like financially didn't have the support needed to play sports, like as far as getting shoes, sneakers, stuff like that. And like so we just pretty much made these shirts up, but I actually have a national logo that was just designed specifically to be promoted around the world. And like I said, like I'm getting attention from around the world with One Dream now, so we're trying to take everything to the next level. And like something that people may notice on my Facebook or people may notice just on Instagram or anything, I always hashtag chasing greatness. So I always hashtag chasing greatness simply because that's what I feel like you have to do every single day. No matter what field you're in, you have to chase greatness or else you're really not doing something.
Do you think you have to love what you do too?
Absolutely. Like I mean, you can't just like what you do and expect to like succeed at a level that you want to be viewed at as. Like for instance, if I'm trying to be a math teacher, there's no point in me focusing purely on kind of doing a good job as opposed to like really doing a good job. Like the people that are really good at what they do sacrifice play. You know what I mean? And I like to say that a lot, but it's the truth. Like play can be anything. Play can be considered procrastinating. Like if you're trying to really focus and become who you want to become in a field that you choose to be in, you have to sacrifice play, and you have to be willing to work.
See, I have my cake and eat it too though, is I write for a living. and that is my play. I absolutely love doing what
Absolutely.
I do. I get out of bed in the morning, and I can't wait to go to work.
Absolutely.
And I never want to have a life other than that.
Absolutely.
So, now, boys, what do you get out of having him coach you?
Well, I mean, having Anthony coach us for the past few years now has opened up a lot of doors for us and opportunities that we wouldn't have had.
Such a give me an example like that.
I mean, basically, he's provided us with like knowledge and just skills to go and get. Say, like I'm going to be next year trying to make a JV team for the high school I'm going to. So, if I make that team, a big part of that is going to be because of Anthony providing me with those skills and showing me or teaching me how to just work and go get that.
And does it go, what he teaches you, does it go beyond the court? Does it go into the classroom? Does it help you?
It really does. Some of his mottos for basketball can carry over to basically anything in everyday life.
And what about you?
Well, yeah, he's opened up a lot of stuff for me too. Last year I was in the 5th grade and I played on the 7th grade AAU team.
Yes, he did.
And yeah, this year I'm playing AAU on another 7th grade team. And yeah.
Has he been able to get you the dunk yet?
No, that's next year.
That's next year.
Well, before the show he was he was guaranteeing me that he was going to get Todd Pronto, the producer of the show, to dunk the ball. So we'll be back on in another year, and we'll see how Todd's doing about that. So how are your basketball skills? Are you pretty talented?
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty good.
Can you keep up to the coach yet?
Yeah.
let me second that for a second. Like Connor and Cody both, like the one thing that anybody needs to understand is like skills are going to take you a lot farther than talent. You know what I mean? Like you can't be expected to be, like, for instance, people are going to put ranks on you whenever, you know what I mean? Like somebody can just like you. Like I could just like Dustin and claim him the best basketball player I've ever seen. You know what I mean? But if that's not true, it's going to be shown. You feel me? And so like these kids, like I always try to give them a real perspective. Like, listen, you might not be the best player on your team, talent-wise, but you can always be the best player on your team skill-wise, and you can always be the best player on your team just emotionally, like depending on how you approach the game, depending on how you approach your teammates. And so these guys, to me, are like leaders when we're training. I make them work out with the older guys. I make Connor work out with the older guys simply because he's worked out with me so long. He understands like what it's going to take for him to get to that next level. Connor might be ahead of Cody when he's at Cody's age because he's younger. That's just how it works, you know what I mean? Cody's going to be ahead of me when he's older because like that's just like he started at a younger age. And so like that's how talent works. Like you can't expect to just wake up and be good. You know what I mean?
What about behavior? You know, you see professional athletes sometimes behaving badly. What is your idea about conduct on the court?
To be honest with you, I don't think a lot of it has to do with like their behavior necessarily like off the court, because I feel the media blows it up more than it should be blown up. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the media a lot of times will put a tag on somebody and that's who they are.
But I mean on the court. When they act on the court, you know.
I mean, like I feel like they have to just understand that they're looked up to. Like a lot of people don't realize like when a camera's on you, regardless of what you think you are, who you are is going to be judged on your action. And so that's key to obviously be able to preserve yourself in the best way possible. That way you can be perceived differently. As I said before, like my video perception, like that shows a little bit of like what can be said about you. You know what I mean? Like, or how you can be perceived to people. But you got to understand that like regardless, you're a role model. Like even if you're looked down on by everybody, you're a role model. And so you got to understand that like being a role model like comes with prices. Like if you mess up, you're going to be scrutinized for it. If you do something good, you're going to be scrutinized for it. If you're really, really, really bad, you're going to be scrutinized for it. And so like you're always going to have a tag on you, and you just got to understand.
And what I tell people, I warn people about, especially young people, is especially in rural America, you can screw up once when you're 12 years old and do something really stupid. That's that is going to follow you. And people will attempt to keep you down
Absolutely.
based on that. And,
Absolutely.
Because, I was born and raised here, and there's people, granted, I've never had a speeding ticket even, but there's people who can tell you any harebrained thing I ever did.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's brought up in fun, other
Absolutely.
times it's, so I think a person's reputation, even as a young person, it's gonna haunt. Well, it's either gonna haunt them or benefit them the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, like it haunted me for a while until I realized like I was my own nightmare in the first place. Because at the end of the day, nobody can be you. I've worked out with some of the best NBA skills trainers in the world, but the one thing that I realized that like I had that they didn't have was a story that I could only tell. So I can't be them, but I can be myself. What put me at a level above most trainers, I feel, is simply being able to understand, like, hey, like being willing to tell my story. I wasn't the best high school player in the world, obviously, but like I knew for a fact I had something that somebody else didn't have, and that's my story. Like you were just saying, like you have to understand that like sometimes growing up, you're going to be pretty much taunted on what you did or didn't do. And I was taunted on that kid that couldn't listen, or that kid that didn't listen, stuff like that, or that kid that got kicked off the basketball team, when really that was only one side of the story. Like nobody like understood my side, you know what I mean? And so through basketball is my way of being able to show people like, hey, like this is who Anthony Bathalon really is. Anthony Bathalon is trying and is going to be one of the best simply because he chooses to let go of that negativity and to allow people to see like the true person, and like that's just how it is.
And I've taught my kids is to actually use that negative as a positive, because I actually really, it builds me up to being born and raised here. There's some people just being born and raised here, there's a negative stereotype for some people, and I actually love it when people look down at me, because little do they know I'm actually looking. Well, I'm not looking down at them, but
You're understanding the difference, yeah.
yeah. So Dustin, how do you keep up with him?
He kind of helps me out with that. He keeps me motivated. He's a pretty motivated guy. I'm starting to get better at it though. I don't necessarily work out with him though. So.
Has he got you into dunking basketball?
No.
I will
Not
say
yet.
I will say one thing about Dustin. Like he gets the raft of my frustration. So regardless of like anything that I've ever said or anything that like I've ever pushed on him, he's pretty much accepted. And so if you know me well, like you know that like I like to get things done. You know what I mean? Like I love to get things done, and sometimes like that message can be perceived the wrong way. Like, you know what I mean? As a negative way of being like, oh my God, this guy's bossy or something like that. And so the one thing that like really helps me a lot is the fact that like he's the type of person that like understands, like he can explain to me like, hey, I can't do this. And you know what? Like sometimes he just can't. So like I might have to put that stuff off. But like the biggest thing that and the biggest thing that I love about Dustin is the fact that like he really pushes me to be successful. Because at the end of the day, like while he's filming, I've gotta produce. You know what I mean? Or when he's not around, I've got to think of things that we can film so I can produce. And so he's one of the biggest, like I said, he's one of the biggest reasons why this movement's been able to work this far, and he's definitely going to be a huge part of it in the future.
Okay, well, why don't we move on to another clip?
Absolutely.
What clip would you like to show?
I'd like to show pretty much like one is just purely skill. Like I was working on a video. Dustin and I were working on a video that allows people to understand like Anthony's for real. Like, you know what I mean? Or One Dream's for real, because a lot of people will judge somebody on what they know about the game, or like their knowledge that they have in their head. But truthfully, like, can they, like, I feel like the best coaches can show. I feel like the best coaches can prove like who they are, can prove their skill. And like Dustin and I made a video like showing my skill. Like I wasn't teaching or anything. I was just purely showing. That way athletes could be more attracted to the fact that I will work with them. I will get on the floor and sweat with them. And this video is just pretty much showing how I'm trying to be one of the best in the business.
Okay, here it is. right, that was another great video. Now, what did you boys think about it?
That was a pretty interesting video from my perspective, and it's great.
Great. So, how does all of this? Well, first of all, where do you go to school?
Irisburg Village School.
Yeah, both of us go to Irisburg Village School. I'm in 8th grade. He's a 6th grader.
Right. And who's the boss at home?
They're actually really they're close. They're actually really close brothers. So I think it's pretty even.
Yeah, we don't fight that often, and when we do, it's in good spirit.
Oh, so if you clobber him, it's in good spirits, right?
No, if I clobber him, he's clobbering me back.
Oh, okay. All right. What do you get out of? All right. First of all, what do you get out of all this that you're doing? Is it do you see this as helping your future?
Yeah, I see this as just basically a stepping stone for hopefully a bright future, just in whatever I want it to be.
And it goes beyond the basketball court for you.
Of course it does. It can go, like I said before with his earlier video, I can just take this and go into anything.
Right. Yeah, because how many, here's a question for you, Anthony, is I know you love basketball, but if a kid is doing this just to be an NBA player, the odds of becoming an NBA player is, that's a challenge.
It's slim to none, and that's the truth that you have to tell most parents, especially because like a lot of parents just think their kid is going pro. You know what I mean? Like if they're talented at a young age, a lot of parents will scrutinize, and that's really who it is. It's not the people at the at the ESPN level. It's not the people that just talk like sports on TV or anything like that. It's the parents. It starts with the parents. If you fill your kid with the fact that you're a stud, you're going pro, they're gonna think that way. I'm not gonna name any names, but I watched a kid the other day play St. J. He's considered to be the best player in the state of Vermont, and he had 0 points. And so to me, it's like if you're gonna be the best player in the state of Vermont, like you should be producing every single night, because basketball at the national level gets a lot harder. You know what I mean? Like a basketball at the national level is not easy whatsoever, and I've seen it. And so to him, if I could reach out to him, like I'd like to just say, like, listen, like it's the little things that are going to make you succeed in this game. It's not what people say. It's not what your parents think. It's really not at all what anybody says. It's about what you believe in and how you're going to get there.
But you've probably, you've touched on a good topic. Is my kids have always been involved in sports, except for they call them individual sports, even though I debate that. Is my boys are actually U.S. ranked marathon. They're runners, and and fortunately, the parents in that arena have been super. But in my time following them in soccer, you'd sometimes look at the parents and think, "What are you thinking?" Have you seen bad conduct amongst parents?
On the sideline, and you can see that, and so like that's the type of parent that like tries to relive their dream through a kid. I've actually been blessed. Like these guys have amazing parents. They don't try to relive their dream through them. So I think it has to do with like the comfortable ness of the family itself.
Now, I don't know. This is off the topic, but did you see that we have 2 young women from Barton? Little Barton, they're headed to the Olympics this year. Susan Dunkley and Ida Sargent.
I heard a little bit about it.
They're not basketball, but my kids actually grew up skiing with those 2 young women, and you could actually, I think if you sat down and spoke to them, I think you'd really like them because they're right on your mindset about dedication and having a good time, and that's where with them they're actually going to the Olympics.
That's amazing. I've never experienced the Olympics, but obviously that's an amazing opportunity, and like that goes to show what hard work does for you. Like they didn't just put on a set of skis one day and just decide to ski down a hill. Like that took a lot of preparation and time. So
now, boys, has this helped you in the classroom at all? Do you think your grades are better? Do you think are you wild men in the classroom, or are you pretty focused?
I wouldn't say wild men, but and the grades haven't changed that much for me, but a lot of it was what he's been teaching us through basketball has carried over to how I view things or how I approach them. It changed my mindset, and that gave me a different attitude towards things.
Right. And what about you?
I'm not really a wild man, but I'm not always focused either. And
I could probably.
the grades are usually the same.
Yeah.
So
I could have probably used you back when I was in high school. I was a long distance runner, but I wasn't dedicated. I came at running naturally.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a track star. My brother was. I was. My kids were.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no dedication to anything. I had my kids once found my high school report cards, and I assured them that those C's and D's in there, that C's and D's meant different than they do now. I didn't lack any. I didn't lack any vision. I think with your age, especially going into high school, you've got to learn to visualize beyond today, because so many of us, even adults, there's a lot of adults who don't have a clue what they're doing tomorrow.
To be honest with you, Dustin and I actually did a video. Like, it's pretty much talking about like the importance of like doing what you really want to do with your life, not necessarily doing it through like the difference between education and school. Okay, like there's a huge difference between education and school, because education is something that like you develop through time. Like you're gonna learn plenty of things. Like you can learn how to set up these cameras and stuff like that. Like that's a trait that you can learn. School is pretty much based on a specific person,
Right.
and you're either going to fail or you're going to succeed in school. Like those are literally your only two options. And so me personally, like I've been put in situations where like I've looked at like a math test and I'm like, this is nothing that like I actually had to study for. Like there's nothing on this test that I studied for. You know what I mean? And so like how's that fair for a kid to be put in a situation where they're still really bright and they're smart, but yet they're judged on this math test. They're going to be judged on this.
That was like me, is like, or my favorite one. I'm not dishing algebra or anything, but I remember back in school, our algebra teacher used to say, when you grow up, you'll be using algebra every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as of this spring, I've been out of high school for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting to use algebra.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong, boys. It depends on which field you go into. You might be using algebra all the time. But I think you're right, though, is there's part of education. There's a big part of education that goes far beyond books. And if I had only known that when I was younger, because I then went on to college after I had kids and graduated in the top of my class. But it was because of what I learned along the way. Now, is this video you're talking about, is that the one about the exams?
Absolutely.
So, let's play it. What is it called?
It's called like I will not. It's pretty much just saying like I will not be tested, or I will not be different. Like I won't be judged on a test exam.
Right. Okay, here it is.
Right now, there is a kid finishing parents' evening in a heated discussion with his mother, saying, why does he have to study subjects he will never ever use in his life? And she will look at him blank-eyed, stifle a sigh, think for a second, and then lie. She'll say something along the lines of, to get a good job you need a good degree, and these subjects will help you get a good degree. We never had this opportunity when I was younger. And he will reply, but you were young a long time ago, weren't you, Mum? And she won't respond, although what he implies makes perfect sense, that society's needs would have changed since she was 16. But she will ignore him, grip his hand more sternly, then drag him to the car. But what she doesn't know is that she didn't ignore him just to shut him up. She didn't lie because they were just returning from parents' evening and an argument in the hallway would look bad on her resume. She won't lie because she's just spent the last 1 hour convincing a stern-faced teacher that she will ensure that her child studies more at home. No, she will lie simply because she does not know any better herself. Although her whole adult life she has never used or applied Pythagoras' theorem, pathetic fallacy, and still does not know the value of x, she will rely on society to tell her that her child, who has one of the sharpest minds in the school, is hyperactive, unfocused, easily distracted, and wayward. Students, how many equations, subjects, and dates did you memorize just before an exam never to use again? How many A grades did you get which were never asked for when you applied for a job? How many times have you remembered something 5 minutes just after the teacher said stop writing, only to receive your results 1 month later to realize that you were only 1 mark short of the top grade? Does that mean remembering 5 minutes earlier would have made you more qualified for a particular job? Well, on the application form it would have. We all have different abilities, thought processes, experiences, and genes. So why is a class full of individuals tested by the same means? So does that mean Sherelle thinks she's dumb because she couldn't do a couple of sums? And if this issue is not addressed properly, it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then every school has the audacity to have a policy on equality. The irony. Exams are society's methods of telling you what you're worth. But you can't let society tell you what you are, because it's the same society that tells you that abortion is wrong but then looks down on teenage parents. The same society that sells products to promote natural hair, looks and smooth complexion, with the model on the box half photoshopped and has fake lashes and hair extensions, with pastors that preach charity but own private jets, imams that preach against greed but are all fat, parents that say they want educated kids but constantly marvel at how rich Richard Branson is, governments that preach peace but endorse wars, that say they believe so much in the importance of higher education and further learning, then why increase tuition fees every single year? I believe Miss Jefferson when she took me into the office and said that my exams would be imperative to my success, because we was taught to always follow when Miss Jefferson led. But then I took Jefferson out of the equation and learned to think for myself. I realized we was taught to always follow when Miss led. The irony. Test us with tests, but the finals are never final, because they never prepare us for the biggest test, which is survival. And what I suggest is fairly outlandish, so I do not expect everyone to understand this, except for the kids who knows what it feels like to be worth no more than that D or that A that you get on results day, and the ones whose best stories were never good enough for the English teacher, because apparently you missed out key literal techniques, did not follow the class plan, and the language was too informal for him to understand. But then he'd reference Hamlet and Macbeth, and you'd fight the urge to express your contempt by partially clenching your fist with only your medius finger left protruding in the middle of your hand, and then asked if he was aware that Shakespeare was known as the innovator of slang, or the kid at the back of the class who thinks, why am I studying something that doesn't fuel my drive? But then when confronted with a maths problem, his eyes come alive. So this one is for my generation, the ones who found what they were looking for on Google, the ones who followed their dreams on Twitter, pictured their future on Instagram, accepted destiny on Facebook. This one's for my failures and my dropouts, for my unemployed graduates, my shop assistants, cleaners and cashiers with bigger dreams, my self-employed entrepreneurs, my world changers and my dream chasers, because the purpose of why I hate school but love education was 22 or 88, 44 or 68. We will not let exam results decide our fate. Peace.
Okay, after a quick break, we have another guest on the show. It's the Lanu boys' mother, Shelly. Welcome to the show, Shelly.
Thank you.
Well, I'll ask you this: what do you think the boys have learned from being around Anthony?
Well, I think many things that are immeasurable, including perseverance. Willingness to fail, that's a big one. I think the first day we met Anthony, the first workout we did with him, he was all about, talking to the boys and saying, I'm going to push you until you fail, and, know that it's because that's my job. I want you to get better, and to get better you have to fail. And that's a really hard lesson. Some people don't learn that their whole life. And to give my children the opportunity to learn that as young children, that it's okay to fail, that you learn from failing, and that you're a better person because you failed, is huge. And that from that comes the perseverance, keep trying. And I think another big piece that he gave them or helped support them through, and you were talking about it earlier in the show, is that basketball and what you learn from basketball, or anything that you endeavor really, any experience you endeavor if you really go into it and want to learn and grow, is looking at the big picture, looking ahead, but also tearing little pieces apart at the same time. So that sounds a little contradictory, but what I mean by that is Anthony gave them the bigger picture, talked to them a lot about what it's like out there, what could be, but he also is very realistic, and he has this innate ability to watch children. I've seen him in groups of 20 or 30 kids, and he's looking at all the different children, picking apart what is not going right for each child in their basketball technique, whether it's with dribbling, shooting, whatever, and coming up split second with a drill or some kind of a strategy for them to make that part of their routine or their skill stronger. So he has that ability to really task analyze, is what it is, tearing something apart so you can build it back up better.
Boy,
Stronger.
Anthony, you got to bring her on your speaking
I know,
tour.
right?
You did. I don't know if you were here when the boys. I asked the boys, about who the boss was at the home, and they said, "Oh no, we really don't fight." And your older boy said, "Well, if we do, it's with love."
That's accurate, actually.
Very
That's pretty accurate. They don't fight a lot. And I know you were talking about the grades component, and I mean, we have a real strong, I think one of the reasons our family and my children have meshed so well with Anthony is we have a real strong work ethic, and that's part of any experience you endeavor, is working hard. And I've said to my children every day, my husband and I have worked really hard to give them opportunities and to give them experiences, and they really need to take ownership of that and decide what they want to do with their lives and how to move forward so that they can, live their lives, whatever they're doing, to the fullest, whether they're going to the Olympics, they're going to the NBA, or, they're a doctor, or they're working at, the local grocery store. They need to love what they do every day and do it to the fullest.
Now, one thing you did say, and part of your message is it's okay to fail. There's so many people who view failing as just it's traumatizing, or it's never going to get better. Actually, if I think about it, I would never be where I am today if it was not for just taking ownership of my failures. And I think you would say the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. I view people that like choose, or I should say, I view people as individuals that, like, say they, for instance, say they succeed because they think that they've accomplished things. You know what I mean? Like, if you think you succeeded because you accomplished things, then like that shows me like you're really not gonna get to the highest level you can possibly get at in any field. I view people like the only way you can truly succeed, the only way you can truly be where you want to be is if you fail. Like there's no way around it. Like you're going to succeed by failing more than you're gonna succeed by succeeding more. And so like people got to understand that like failure is going to happen. Like it's inevitable. Like it's gonna be there. And so like you just have to figure out how you're gonna get up from it, and like the things that you're gonna do to try to like get better. Like what are you gonna do after you fail? That shows me more than succeeding.
And would you agree though that your idea of success and my idea of success, they might be totally different?
Absolutely.
But we're both, because I think sometimes we also allow society to tell us what success is.
Absolutely. Of course we do. And I mean, like we allow society to do that simply because like there's such things as TV, radio. Obviously there's people listening to us right now, but like their view of success might be different. But the biggest thing is like prove it, show it. Like, you know what I mean? If you can't prove and show it, then like what are you really doing? And so I feel like just as long as I'm on this earth trying to better somebody else's life every single day, like that's unless you're on this earth trying to better somebody else's life, I don't feel like you're really doing much of anything.
So what more do you have to say, Shelley, listening to this? And does he energize you as well?
Oh, absolutely. He exhausts me sometimes too, though, to be honest. In a good way, exhausts me. I feel blessed that we've had the opportunity to get to know Anthony, and over the last several years, he's become a very important part of our family and our community, our just family community. And it offers learning and opportunities to my children that I can't offer them. I think that sometimes parents they misunderstand that piece. As a parent, I feel like my job is to try to offer my children opportunities, but it doesn't mean that I have to be the one responsible for every opportunity. I just have to support them getting there so that they can learn and grow. And I think some parents take so much on as their role to teach their children that, like Anthony was saying earlier about, you only know where you've been. So that limits your child as well, because the more you are responsible for what your child learns, they're only going to learn what you know. And that's limiting. And I want my children to be able to grow their whole life and to expand. And that means that they need to find lots of ways, avenues, sources to learn and grow and fail and pick themselves up and get stronger from a variety of people. So, Anthony was certainly one of the first strongest mentors for my children.
Now, did you know, so you've known Anthony for years?
I've known Anthony for several years.
Right, and so Anthony talks openly about, he wasn't always the ideal. You probably look back on part of your life and think, what was I thinking?
I mean, I do that every day, and I think the biggest thing that I look back on is just the fact that I could have made, it's not even the hard things that I went through. I could have made easy things easy, you know what I mean? And sometimes I would drag that out, and so I've just learned to pretty much accept the fact that that was then and this is now, and those that judge me for it are just still stuck in the past, and so I'm just.
Did you watch him go through all this?
Portions of it, not all of it. But I think that the important part for me and for choices I make for my family is looking at people and who they are, not what they've done. And if I look at who Anthony is and the relationship he has with my children and my family, that's all that's important.
Personally, I think it adds more depth to a person if you, the kind of people I really don't, I can't say I don't care for, but perfect people is at least people who pretend to be perfect, because
those are the most scared people.
Yeah, I have so many flaws. I served in the State House for several years, and if you want everybody to know your flaws, you might as well tell them your flaws, because if you're going to run for office, everybody's going to tell you your flaws, whether they're true or not. So I used to have a policy is, okay, you're looking for a perfect person, perfect candidate, I'm not it.
But I think that goes back to sort of the easy versus difficult conversation you were having. I think unfortunately society is trended in a way that what looks perfect, what is on the surface, is just an easy fix, as opposed to the difficult. Getting to know somebody and know who they really are is a difficult task, and it takes a lot of effort, and some people don't want to put that effort forth.
And what is your mission? Working with them, beyond the basketball, it isn't going to prevent them from failing, but you probably want them to not make some of the same mistakes you made.
Absolutely. I think in anything, pretty much, if I succeed, I want anybody to go further than I've gone. And so I try to express my story, especially with One Dream. I try to express my story, what I've been through, what's happened to me, to make sure they understand if you want to be further than me, don't go down this path. I honestly, truthfully would push any and every kid to go to college. But I want them to want to go to college. Don't just go because that's what your parents want you to do. Don't just go because you think that's the only way you can succeed. Because that's the first step to failure, is trying to please anybody and everybody. And so just doing what you love to do is key to me, and me being able to express that through the game of basketball to give to any type of person, whether it's a student or whether it's somebody in a different field completely. I feel as long as I can give them my experience and give them my stories, they can communicate with anybody through the art that they choose.
I still think your silent man over there is I still look at him and I'm thinking, boy, you must be a hard man to keep up to. do you ever know what your day is going to look like? When did you find out that you were coming on today?
Well, I knew it was coming this week, but I didn't find out till last night. I just got to be ready for whatever, basically. I mean, whether it's waking up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, drive down to a clinic or something. That's what we got to do.
So what
he's the
is your
champion.
role? You photograph and you film.
Yeah, and I'm somewhat of a manager, per se.
I bet you, is he hard to manage?
No. we get along. We get along.
I'll tell you this quick story. The one thing that, like, speaking on terms of like yesterday, the one thing that Dustin's really good at when it comes to me is, and I mean like everybody, to be honest with you, Shelly especially, is you need a lot of patience with me, because like I can be random, like I can be really like just like at the spur of the moment, just idea or not a bad idea, I don't know. But the biggest thing is like they keep me focused, and like I look up to him. And like Dustin, he's the biggest. Like how many times have we driven down to Boston?
5, 6 now.
5, 6 times we've driven to Boston, and not one time has really been scheduled to the point where it's like, okay, in 3 days we're going to Boston. And so like he's there. And so it's cool to have a guy like that. Speaking on terms of Shelly, she's like a sister to me. She's like I look up to her. Like she's like my biggest motivator, and so it's huge to be able to just be able to talk to somebody. Like her and I have talked about like her sons countless times, and also speaking on terms of a parent that like has like runs their dream through their kids. Like she's the exact opposite, and she actually tries to figure out how we can like develop her kids, like because she doesn't know. You know what I mean? Like how we can develop her kids to the point where they can succeed at that next level when it comes to the game of basketball or when it comes to the game of life. And so it's cool to be able to talk to somebody.
I was never a sports fan as a child. Basketball is something I've become interested in because my children were interested in basketball, and I say to them frequently, because it is a hard push, and you're working out and like all summer long, twice a week.
Yeah,
they're working out all summer, you know, and they're working out on the weekends now, and you know, with their coaches, they have open gym, and so it's 7 days a week sometimes. And I say, as soon as you know, when you're not interested in this anymore, you tell me, and we're done. But as long as you're interested, then I'm going to organize it. So this is what we have to do. We have to get to bed at this time. We have to get our clothes cleaned and so on. That's my job. You know, I can do the organizing part and get it, you know, get them where they need to be. But as long as it's their dream and they want to do it, and it's something that's healthy, it's keeping them active and motivated, it encourages them with a dream. And
we gotta understand, like, don't like the fan page if you don't like basketball or like you're not interested in it, because like that's all it's about. You know what I mean? It's about just trying to give information out about.
So basically, they just have to type in your name and.
Yeah, Anthony. And the only real time I was happy is on the basketball court, and so it helped to like. That's why I'm able to, like you said, channel it now, and I'm able to communicate with my artistry in basketball simply because like now I feel free to tell my story. I feel comfortable being able to express myself. So,
okay, we're gonna have to start wrapping up things here, but I want to give each one of you just a couple minutes to say a little bit. We're gonna go over to your manager and have him
what up, Dustin?
Start with his last 2 minutes or so. We might even give him more since he sat there.
He needs another 40.
Yeah.
Give him an hour.
What would you like me to start with? Something about one dream?
Just whatever. This is your mic.
All
Go
right,
for
all
it.
right.
Just sing.
Well, I mean, I started talking to Anthony back in the summer. That's when we started kind of trying to figure things out, and we actually started working together this fall. Started doing video for him and stuff, and I mean, we've become friends over time. I've become rather invested in one dream. I really believe in it. I played basketball through high school for AU and stuff like that. So I mean, I love watching it. I love being there around it. He's also starting to give me the opportunity to help at clinics and stuff, so I'm enjoying that. It's a journey, and right now I'm having a really good time on it.
Okay. So Cody, what do you have to say?
Well, I mean, these last 2 years have been kind of crazy for me. That's since I met Anthony, obviously. Yeah. But I was in 6th grade at the time I met him, and Connor was in 4th, and he was training with one of his classmates. This is Anthony's like first actual training, and I wasn't able to do it because I had baseball practice and I had my cleats on and I didn't have basketball stuff. And we were at our school, Irisburg, and that ended, and I walked up to my mom and said, I want to do this. This looks like fun. And ever since then, it's just been crazy. I mean, the stuff that we've done, where I was then to where I am now, skill-wise, like Todd earlier mentioned doing ball push-ups, and I could not do that for my life when I met him, but now I could just do anything.
Okay.
Well, we actually got the his name from the kid that was in my class that I was working out with, and he actually quit. So,
But you didn't.
yeah, and basically back then I couldn't make a jump shot for anything, and now I can, I guess. So
You're the man.
But
he's
still,
made me a lot better.
still less jump shots than me.
All right, and we're going to jump over to Mom.
Yes. Well, like I said earlier, I think that perseverance, willingness to fail and keep working, and I think it's how you look at failure, which is critical. Failure is scary, and I think that it's okay to be afraid. Then what do? You plan, you figure something out, you work hard, and before you know it, you can do what you couldn't do yesterday or last month or a year ago, and that's what life's about, really. It's about keep working, and you can do things that you couldn't do before, and keep learning and growing, and that's what Anthony's given my children and our family.
All right, thank you.
And if I could say one more thing, like with you, Mom, and Anthony, I've seen you guys so many times just arguing over just basketball, just like it's crazy how much time you guys have just spent battling each other, and no matter how angry you guys get at each other for whatever reason, you guys always get back, and you're always good eventually, and that really says a lot about the bond that you two have.
Yeah, it's real. That's real.
Oh no, it's definitely there. It's real for sure.
Okay, Anthony, what more do you want the viewers to know?
I just want you guys to understand that you can be anything you want in life, and I'm not saying just a few people can be anything they want in life. I don't care if you've been to jail. I don't care if you did drugs. I don't care if you did something just to mess up your life. You got to understand right now that if you're trying to be something, it's a choice. If you're trying to do something with your life, it's a choice that you have to be willing to just sacrifice. You know what? Like, I messed up and I know I messed up, but in order to succeed now in life, I've got to understand that was my past. Now the future is right now. Like, the future for you is here, and the future is just here. Like, it's something that, like, you got to understand. We all make mistakes. I've made mistakes, but now, like, I have the opportunity to travel the world teaching this game, whether I'm training NBA players, college players, high school All-Americans, or young kids like Cody and Connor. I've had the opportunity to be blessed with a second chance to become something that people dream of becoming. And so I want you viewers to understand that anything you want to do in life, you can do it. I hope all of you basketball athletes choose to join One Dream, because One Dream is becoming nationally recognized, and it's going to get you to that next level. Whether you're good right now, better, you can always be your best at any given moment. And so One Dream is going to allow you guys to really focus on trying to be your best every single day. I hope to see you guys soon.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. I want to thank you all for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.